all combat troops are out, but the remaining forces are allowed to take part in combat operations if the Iraqis ask them to. So do you think the combat mission is over, or is this withdrawal more to do with Obama's fulfillment of an election campaign promise?
That's exactly what I think. There's no real withdrawal at all. On the contrary, 50,000 troops are going to remain in Iraq. So what we're dealing with here is a political package. It's an administrative change. The troops who are already in Iraq will stay there. The name of the mission changes, but they will still be combat troops. They will still be engaged in combat operations. And after all, an American soldier died again only on Sunday. So this is indeed all about presenting, or rather creating, a reality which in fact does not exist.
Now, Operation Iraqi Freedom may be officially over, but has Washington really brought any freedom to the Iraqis? Is there any semblance of a so-called democracy in existence there?
I don't think so. I mean, of course, there is now a multi-party system, which they didn't have before. But on the other hand, the collapse of state power in Iraq and the fact that it is effectively an occupied country means that it doesn't have self-determination. I think that people who argue in favour of this war say that the achievement of democracy, at least on paper, made it worth it. I'm not sure, of course, whether the many hundreds of thousands of people who've been killed would agree with that. But even if one can say that the situation has, in some respects, improved to the extent that there is no longer a dictatorship, my own view is that the human cost in terms of deaths is much too high. So no, I don't think that things have improved, and I don't think that there's a proper democracy there. In fact, I wonder whether such a thing is ever possible.
So no weapons of mass destruction were ever found in Iraq. Some experts say that Iraqi oil was a factor in the US invasion due to America's insatiable energy appetite. The Bush administration ranted on about Al-Qaeda, which was based in Afghanistan and Pakistan at the time. So why this 7-year war?
Well, it's a monstrous, horrible war which should never have happened, and as you've reminded the viewers in your question, was based on lies. It was based on the lies about weapons of mass destruction and about the lies on links between Saddam Hussein's regime and Islamic terrorism. In fact, of course, for all its faults, the Ba'athist regime in Iraq was secular, and it was that which kept the lid on Islamic fundamentalism in that country. So why was the war fought? It's a very good question. My own view is that, of course, oil played a role, but it's totally backfired because, of course, the oil price has not fallen as hoped. My view is that probably one of the main motives was personal revenge. George W. Bush, George Bush Sr., Jr. wanted to, as it were, take revenge on Saddam Hussein for allegedly trying to kill his father, and above all, for surviving the first Gulf War in 1990-1991. It was at that simple level that I believe of human revenge that George Bush Jr. wanted to wage the war, and that's why he was determined to overturn Saddam. It's a shame that so many people had to die for that revenge to be brought about.
Now, do you think that any top British or US government figures will ever be held accountable for what many considered an illegal invasion? We do know that former British Prime Minister Tony Blair faced an inquiry into the war this year in London.
No, because the point about these tribunals is that they depend on who controls them. There'll only be a prosecution if there is some sort of revolution, and that's not going to happen, certainly not in Britain, because the opposition now in government supported the war. In any case, Blair himself in Britain has succeeded in keeping the debate on the issue of weapons of mass destruction. He has managed to focus all the debate on whether or not he lied. And while everybody believes that he is a liar, he has managed by this device to distract attention from the much more important fact, which, as I say, was that the purpose of the war was to overthrow Saddam Hussein, to get rid of the man. And Blair, therefore, has manoeuvred quite cleverly, really, to deflect criticism, even though, of course, he is hated for that war. So, no, there won't be any prosecutions, and in any case, the legal basis for such prosecutions is rather difficult to find, because the only way that one could really prosecute that war would be by prosecuting a crime of aggression, a crime against peace. And that crime, while an international crime, does not, generally speaking, exist in national jurisdictions, and it doesn't exist, for example, in the British or the American jurisdiction. So no, as usual, the victors will go unpunished.
All right, John Laughlin from the Institute for Democracy and Cooperation. Thank you.